অনুরোধ করব প্রফেসর ডক্টর মাঝহারুল ইসলাম, ডক্টর এমপিই এবং ডিরেক্টর ইনস্টিটিউশনাল কোয়ালিটি অ্যাসুরেন্স।
আসসালামু আলাইকুম, সবাইকে ওয়েলকাম, ধন্যবাদ। আজকের এই সেশন জন্য আমাদের মঞ্চে উপবিষ্ট যারা বিশিষ্ট ব্যক্তিবর্গ যারা এসেছেন আজকে, থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ। উই আর অনার্ড, উই আর ডিলাইটেড টু হ্যাভ ইউ এট আওয়ার ক্যাম্পাস। এবং যারা একটা আয়োজন করেছো আওয়াস্ট ক্লাবের থেকে, আমি তোমাদের সবাইকে অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ দিতে চাই। This sort of things, especially the focus on environment sustainability, is very critical nowadays. Very critical, and it's very timely. What you have, the topic of this session is very timely, and we are in dire need of this type of sessions. Now, my area is renewables. I used to work for BPD once upon a time. For about 9 years I was there before I moved to Canada. I used to work very closely in renewable projects at BPDB. At BPDB we first launched the first large-scale solar PV projects in Chican Hill Tracts a long time ago. And here also I'm involved with the rooftop solar program, what we have adopted here at AUST. So I'm the convener of the Rooftop Solar Society, and we have started with around 21 kilowatt, but we have planned to expand it throughout the roof. We want to expand this rooftop solar program. So it will be a brief presentation about the renewable energy and environmental sustainability, which has been assigned to me. I'm Professor Mazharul Islam, currently the Director of Institutional Quality Assurance of AUST. Also, I'm a professor in the Department of Mechanical and Production Engineering. So the outline of my presentation will be a brief introduction about environment sustainability, followed by the global energy transition, which is happening nowadays, and Bangladesh status targets and the role of engineers, then environmental imperatives, economics of renewables, all this stuff. And these are based on mostly authoritative data sources, and you'll see the data sources. So just to start with the environmental sustainability, always is better to track these things to the source. So it started in modern time. It started with Brundtland report in the year 1987, which a famous definition of sustainable development was given, which is basically the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. That's the famous textbook definition of sustainable development. Later on there came other things like triple bottom line approach, where you have the so-called PPP model, people, planet, profit model. So here in sustainable development, which is basically which indicates the process, and if you think about the state, the goal, that's the sustainability, and you can divide that under 3 pillars: environmental, economic, and social. So our today's focus will be environmental, and when we say environmental sustainability, the thing is our goal is to maintain ecosystem function, stable climate, air and water quality, resource stocks within regeneration rates, all this stuff. So that's the focus today. I'm not talking about economic or social aspects that much, though I must touch economic a little bit just to show you how renewables are becoming competitive nowadays. If you see the levelized cost of energy, then you see they are really, as a renewable energy enthusiast, it's really very satisfying to see that the LCOE of renewables, especially from SPV and wind, they have come down drastically over the years in recent time. Now, the environmental imperative, you know about the anthropogenic climate change, which is threatening the existence of mankind nowadays. And you are seeing, and we used to hear about these extreme climate events in the past. People are talking about it. Now we are witnessing what's happening in Europe or elsewhere. Suddenly in the desert of Sahara, you are seeing snowfall. Europe. Now, I lived in Europe. I traveled across many European countries. Cool climate, traveling in Europe was really hectic. All of a sudden, you have cold weather. So over there, you have this harsh, very harsh sun, wildfires and all this stuff. So the atmospheric level has reached about 426 parts per million ppm, and global mean warming is about 1.55 degrees centigrade, and the threatening or critical thing is about 38.1 gigatons of CO2 emissions happening in the year 2025. Yeah. So that's the scenario now. How to mitigate this situation, and one of the solutions for this is adoption of environment-friendly, sustainable, renewable energy technologies. And the world is going through that transition. Now you can see in this, the dominant renewables, starting biomass, wind, solar, hydropower, geothermal, marine, but not all of them are commercially viable. Not all of them are proven yet commercially. Among these, wind, especially in places where renewables are intermittent, very much site specific. You cannot just harness renewables anywhere you like. Very much site specific. And resource assessment is a critical aspect of implementing renewable energy projects. So among these, if the site is windy, then yes, you can generate electricity at a cheaper cost if it is windy throughout the year. Not only few months. Throughout the year it should be windy. Solar PV, yeah, you can install solar PV almost anywhere in the world, and even in Bangladesh is viable. It can be installed pretty much anywhere in the world. So that has become the dominant renewable energy technology in the world nowadays. The dominant one. Yeah, no other renewable is matching the installation of solar PV in the last year. I will show you some statistics later on. Hydropower, the impoundment or dam-based hydropower plants, they are, I would say, a bit controversial. There are issues, even with our Kaptai, there are issues. Many renewable energy or sustainable energy enthusiasts, they are very critical about dam-based hydropower plants. Yes, if you can do it, there is another option, runoff river type. Yeah, that can be implemented with least amount of impact. So that's promising. But impoundment type is nowadays people are very cautious about that. They're not so happy about that. Geothermal is a promising one in certain countries like Iceland, heavily dependent upon geothermal in the so-called countries in the ring of fire, yeah, especially in the volcanic regions, geothermal energy can be harnessed. Not in Bangladesh at the current status, geothermal is not that promising yet with the current state of technologies. Marine, again, is not taking, we're not seeing that many convergent technologies from marine. So if you analyze all these things nowadays, the promising ones would be solar PV. And in certain countries, in Middle Eastern countries, North Africa, South Africa, Australia, concentrating solar power has become a viable solution where you have beam radiation, but unfortunately in Bangladesh, we don't have that much beam radiation over the year. So it's not that, the current status is not promising. So for Bangladesh right now, solar PV is the most viable option. And wind, we have, frankly speaking, the prospect is not that promising because we don't get wind speed throughout the year. We get it during the monsoon months, and other times, sometimes it's quite big, especially in that. In the certain times, monsoon months, it can be very trusty. Okay, now just to show you the installation capacity right now in the year 2025, the renewables, how it has increased over the years. Now, in the year 2025, the installation was about 5 5,149 gigawatt. Now economics, that's basically what is driving this installation of this thing, and solar PV and onshore wind has become much cheaper. So if you think about solar PV, it has gone down to, let's say, around 4 cents. Even wind is even cheaper in prospective size, about 3.5 cents. And there is a very famous work from Lazard. They compare different technologies and their levelized cost of energy, and you can see in this chart how the renewables, they are really they have beaten the conventional technologies. So their cost, levelized cost of energy, has gone down significantly over the years. Now for Bangladesh, yes, in Bangladesh, solar PV is really coming up, and I'm really happy as a renewable energy enthusiast. The government took it seriously, and in the last budget, there were incentives were announced for solar PV based power plants, especially through net metering programs. So that is something which in Bangladesh is very much focusing, and hopefully in the coming days we'll see more. Government has adopted a rooftop program. So government buildings, they must have a solar PV on their roof. So this is, I hope, it will boost the solar PV installations in Bangladesh, and it will really benefit to maintain our environmental sustainability in the short run. I hope so. So there are other things, as due to time crunch, I'm not focusing on those things. I've already received warning that I'll have to finish fast. So some of the things would be, challenging things would be land scarcity. So that's why it would be better to install solar PV on the rooftops rather than in usable lands. Also grid integration, sometimes it might be challenging. You have to maintain grid code. Storage, energy storage is a challenging thing. So after the dark, when you don't have sun, what to do? You need storage and storage technologies. Right now, lithium-based solar storage is coming, but it's expensive. Lead acid is still the solution among most of the in most of the projects. So financing has some issues as well. I hope now with the release of these incentives, financing will become much easier as well, inshallah. So with this, I would like to finish my presentation, just to let you know that this adoption of this solar PV or renewables as a whole, it will help us in attaining several SDGs, more specifically SDG 7, and the related indicator is 7.2. So that will help us to attain this SDG. So with that, I would like to end my presentation. Thank you very much for your kind participation.